Ladies and gentlemen, we'll move to our first, most exciting session, cybersecurity.
A hacker doesn't always look like a hacker. A hacker's at home, everywhere. A hacker comes in many forms.
He's interested in everything.
He can work alone. But with a crew, so much better. A hacker is free.
With Cisco, protecting your business from cyber attackers is simple. If it's connected, you're protected.
A big round of applause for our industry sector partner, Cisco. Our panel is moderated by Lipsko Josefsky, Director of Cybersecurity Solutions Engineering, Cisco. Welcome. Our first panelist, Gia Al-Haj, CCO, MEA, Honeywell. Welcome. Phil Marlowe, Managing Director, AVI SPL. Welcome, sir. Aidan Eisler, Senior Regional Sales Director, Cybersecurity Business Head, Microsoft. Welcome. The floor is yours, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for being here this morning. Definitely a very exciting session. I hope you enjoyed the video. I had no idea that's going to be played, but it's always fun to see that because that is really the reality that we see out there today, right? So I'll start with a little bit of an intro to the topic. Oh, sorry, and Zamfar is here from Innova. All right, thank you. Cool. So we'll start a little bit with an intro on this exciting topic. I mean, this is a topic that's been very near and dear to my heart for at least the last couple of decades in my career, not only with Cisco, but even before. I actually remember, I was thinking this morning, I went to school in the US and did my undergraduate and graduate studies, and my thesis was actually on cybersecurity and this exact topic on how it influenced at the time running a business at different sizes and different sectors. And unfortunately, 2 decades ago, that was a different story compared to what it is today. But it's definitely interesting to see how this industry has evolved and what sort of impact it's doing today to running a business, doing technical innovations, not only obviously here, but globally as well, right? So look, the threat landscape that we see today is so diverse and so complex that even though the industry or the cyber defense industry has advanced over the last decade quite a bit, the frequency and the devastative effect on the attacks that we see these days, it's only increasing, right? I would say, and I think my colleagues will agree here, this cyber security industry is likely the most complex and segmented industry. We have so many vendors out there providing different solutions, but yet on the other end, we have this attackers that have been being better and better in their job as time has gone on, right? If maybe a decade or 2 decades ago, these were individual people that were trying to take advantage of some weakness in securities within the companies, today, these are people that are acting more like companies, like syndicates. They act together and they're very effective and efficient in what they do. So the struggle is increasing. I know we've mentioned, actually, Ms. Strong mentioned AI, right, as one of the key topics today. AI and the use of generative AI in the businesses is increasing, and obviously that's going to give us a lot of advantage even in the cyberspace. However, keep in mind, and let's be real, that these tools and techniques that are widely available for all of us to take advantage in a positive way, they're equally available for the attackers and the criminals to do the opposite, right? And disrupt our business, disrupt what we are trying to do from a technical innovation and digital transformation point of view, right? So it's very important that we address those topics. And I know as Cisco, but also as other vendors like Microsoft, we are actually leveraging this technology to make sure that we are more capable and we're more efficient in what we do from a solution point of view. One last thing that I'll say before we get into the panel is the readiness that we see out there from a company point of view and from us as an industry is increasing, however, not enough. There's different reports out there that come out every year, and as Cisco, we actually came up with we come up with a report every year on the cybersecurity readiness. We will see, and you can actually see if you look through those reports, that the readiness index is increasing, but slowly, right? So we still have a lot of way to go to be more effective and more efficient and make sure that we have a proper cyber defense that will actually drive the technological innovation without interruptions, right? So with that, let me get into the questions and the discussion that we're going to have on the panel. As you heard, we have a quite diverse panel from different parts of the industry. We're going to start with a couple of questions, and I'd like to ask you as well to ask any questions that you might have. I think we have experts from across different sectors, so it would be great if we can hear some questions from you guys as well. So let's start with Gia. She represents Honeywell, and I've had the pleasure of working with Honeywell quite a bit in Canada, actually, in the oil and gas space, and we own security, and that was an interesting collaboration that we had. So one of the first things that we'd like to know is, could you outline some of the initiatives and activities that you're involved as Honeywell in the MENA region that drive digital transformation across different sectors, right? Being that healthcare or the education or oil and gas space, government, et cetera.
Yep. Thank you for the question, Lupcho. And let me start by saying it's a pleasure to be here and participate in this panel. It was quite an adventure this morning as well. There's definitely an increased activity that's happening in digital transformation across the region where industry executives are implementing to upgrade the infrastructure and to compete for operational excellence. And digital transformation is really about creating a system that captures data and harnesses it and then unleashes its power to whatever it is that you're doing. There have been advancements in, of course, in cloud computing, AI, and the Internet of Things or IoT that have really enabled data-driven decision-making, whether that's for operational efficiency, improved safety, cost reduction, or generally for a better connected workforce. And the way that Honeywell has taken advantage of these advancements is by combining all three of these elements to create value for our customers. For example, at Hamdan Smart University, we've implemented Honeywell Forge application that automates around 100 building adjustments daily, and that saves around 10% in energy. With Egypt's new administrative capital for urban development, we've actually partnered with them on the City Operations Center, where we've automated everything on city management, from safety systems to utilities to emergency response coordination. At ADNOC, we're doing predictive analytics that helps them with improving unplanned downtime and reducing maintenance costs. So these are examples from universities, smart city, and also oil and gas that you can see. And so to say that digital transformation advancements are accelerating probably would be an understatement. We've seen a lot of benefits from AI and automation across multiple industries that have really improved on efficiency and sustainability.
Cool. Thanks, Gia. Let's ask a little bit in the perspective of Microsoft, Aidan. You're actually running that cybersecurity team, but could you talk about the initiatives and some of the latest things that you guys are doing in the region?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for having us, first of all, Ambassador Megan, and the whole MCHAM team. Look, I think we've been, as Microsoft, involved in multiple digital transformation and really, I'll say, cutting-edge technology innovation in the region. If I just look at some of the projects that were done in just GCC, be it from shared services for the governments that we provide in Qatar, stuff that we have done here in the UAE with the recent announcement on G42, the investments that we're doing there, improving the AI landscape and also investing into the AI landscape are just a few. But if you look at it in a sectorial basis, if you look at, for instance, in healthcare, how we deal with digital transformation, patient data, and dealing with patient data, how we deal with financial institutions providing services to customers in the retail business and as well as in the corporate side. And similarly in oil and gas, where we're helping some of the large oil and gas companies here in the region to transform the way they're running the operations itself from an OT, IoT space, but also overall from a security posture, are just a few examples that I can think of where we are, as Microsoft, contributing heavily. But the main focus right now, and it's no secret, is definitely on AI, right? And that's where our investment, our focus, all our energy is going into. And we're just really, I think, just starting a journey that we will all enjoy a lot. And we will have to work together in the region with a lot of the companies here that are represented and with our partners and the governments here in the region as well. That's where we're going to see the new cutting-edge technologies being leveraged in those different industries, and that will add value to them, transform the way we are doing businesses, and also help the citizens and the customers that we're servicing, and they're servicing therefore as well. So nothing but opportunity in front of us, I think, jointly.
Definitely. Thanks, Aidan. And let's hear from Zamfir. Zamfir represents a company that he was telling me about this morning, something that started actually here 40 years ago, right? So it'd be great to hear what your perspective is and what you guys are doing when it comes to digital transformation and initiatives around that.
So, sure. When we look at transformation, actually it happens in 4 different categories. The first one would be the business model transformation. The second is the process transformation. And the third one is the domain transformation, and the fourth one will be the organizational transformation. Just to illustrate a little bit what all these 4 categories are. The business model transformation is you transform how you operate the business. For the likes of, let's say, if Blockbuster would have been thought thinking like Netflix, that they would be still in the game. So the core of your business you transform. So for example, earlier, I remember getting a game console and playing it. The first thing I buy is I go and buy the games in a CD or DVD. Right now, if you take the Sony or Microsoft Xbox platform, all the deliveries are happening in the digital format itself. So the business, how the model itself is transforming. So along with it, we have a responsibility to think about how I make sure that my transformation is in tied with my priorities when it especially comes to cybersecurity. So how would I be implementing the system and platforms in place that my consumers or my stakeholders would be able to access the platform and execute the transformation in a more secure manner. So that is there. And the second one is the process transformation. So this would be a manual process you are transforming into a digital one, or it would be an existing digital process you're transforming to be more productive and more user-friendly, so that it would involve loads of such integrations. It will be having a middleware platform and everything, and you have to think about how secure, and the data residency would be coming into play as well. Where more and more this transformation are moving towards the cloud. So we have to start thinking about it. And the third is the domain itself. So most of the organizations, they coined the word transformation, migrating their on-prem workload into the cloud. So when you migrate these kind of workloads into the cloud, we have to think, okay, fine. So that I had an existing, a platform, security measures, a framework put in place to safeguard my interest. So now that I'm moving into the cloud, whether the same platform, the same framework would work when I move into, so that we have to think, and we are to make sure that it is kept intact. Because one thing is earlier, growing up, I remember when we talk about cybersecurity, it is installing an antivirus software in our PC. So you install the software and we think, okay, we are protected. And then came it's not enough. People started looking into the solutions like EDR. And then they found out okay, EDR is not it's not going to an endpoint. It's not going to be sufficient enough, and we have to look into XDR, so that the correlation, it is which is very important as well. So moving into the cloud, so everybody is on board this domain transformation. They think, okay, now I offload all of my these headaches, if I can say, into a vendor who would be able to take care of this. But one thing they are missing, by moving it and not having a solution like XDR, the correlation is getting broken in places. So that we have to be very careful on how we are doing this domain transformation and how we keep the correlation intact. So there are loads of solutions which are available, including CASB, which is provided by Cisco and Microsoft themselves. And the fourth, I would say the most important one, is the organizational transformation, where culture and change comes into play. So this is a very vital factor, most of the time overlooked. So when I've been consulting many organizations, when I'm speaking with my peers, that they have ample amount of investment in cybersecurity initiatives, but when it comes to this change, when it's come to the culture, that the investment is a little bit of lacking. So that we have to always understand the cybersecurity itself is a shared responsibility, and the first line of defense is our users itself. So that we have to do the transform to nurture this concept, so that we will be providing a sustainable system.
Cool. Thanks, Zamfir. Thanks for the detailed answer. I think there were a lot of topics there that I think we'll revisit again throughout the discussion today. And since you brought up now the cybersecurity topic, let's maybe dig a little deeper in it. And I'll ask Phil. Phil comes from AVI, and Phil, I'll ask you to actually talk a little bit about what AVI does, so the audience can understand what sort of technical innovations you guys are working on. And while you do that, could you also talk about the significance of the challenge that you see when it comes to cybersecurity and digital transformation that you guys run as a journey across this region?
Sure. So good morning, everybody. My name is Phil Marlowe. I'm the Managing Director for AVI SPL here for the MENA region. AVI SPL is a technology integration partner. So we take products from Honeywell, Microsoft, and others and combine them together to make a solution that's tailored for your environment and for your workforce. The challenges we're seeing are quite crazy at this point. And I have one that actually happened this morning. I got woken up at 6:30 with a phone call from Hong Kong from my managing director there. And he says, hey, I just got a bunch of WhatsApp messages from our CEO. I think I'm being scammed. I said, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, they just sent me a video link. And he goes, I just had a video call with our CEO. And it was quite shocking. And I kind of looked at it, and the more time I looked at the photo, I said, there's no way this could be him. But that's our CEO, John, and that was a complete deep fake that someone had made based off YouTube videos that he had posted online from our company, from marketing material. And that's quite scary. And I think this is where generative AI is getting really, really out of control. And it's solutions such as Microsoft and Cisco are coming out with to help safeguard us and protect us against those issues. But I think our biggest problem is people. Right. At the end of the day, we need to really upskill and train people globally to be able to understand and know that those are not valid situations. Yeah. We're seeing it. Everyone talks about ChatGPT. And I guarantee that the majority of people in this room have played with it or dabbled with it in some form or fashion, or their kids have, or somebody in their household has. But what people don't understand is that you're uploading data, right, to a cloud environment that isn't in some form of control. right? Especially from an enterprise perspective. And we were having this conversation this morning over a coffee that, we've seen multiple instances where enterprises are uploading financial data to help summarize it or help make their jobs easier. And everyone sees AI as a means to make them better, faster, and stronger, right? Which is great. At the end of the day, I think all of us want to be more efficient in our job and want to be able to increase productivity within our enterprise. But at what price? And I think that is the challenge that we're seeing. I don't think it's not regional specific within MENA. It's more spread out everywhere. But we're seeing it increasing, and it's an increasing threat. And it's funny watching the video coming up here. I'm like, do I know that guy? And I think we all may know that person. So it is quite interesting.
Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Phil. Yeah, I agree. I think what we see today is definitely unprecedented and very scary when you hear some of the things that just happened actually this morning. So let's go with the same theme here with Gia. What is your worry, Gia, when it comes to your interactions with customers and solutions that you position with them? You talked earlier about and cybersecurity. How does that affect you? What are your customers saying around that?
Thank you. And I think similarly to Phil, I think there's, what we're seeing is that there is a lack of expertise or skills for the workforce generally, right, when it comes to cybersecurity, whether that's IT or OT, right? And, there's a lot of good things happening in digital transformation. And it's actually heartening to see that cybersecurity is taking an increased focus and action by regional leaders and customers as well. I mean, the fact that we're having this panel is a testament to that it's a growing focus. And, I think to the point of, as the cybersecurity detection or protection mechanisms and technologies advance, so too do the ways that cyber threats originate, right? So AI can also be used to actually create new attacks as well, that Phil also touched on. So the thing is, it's kind of a evolving process, right? So when companies say we've implemented cybersecurity measures, it can't be a one-time thing. And sometimes, unfortunately, we see that with companies, they just implement, one technology, but really the fact that it's advancing so much, like according to a recent Honeywell USB threat report, we're seeing around 1 billion malware applications being discovered every day, right? Wow. 1 billion with a B, right? So that's a lot. So it's not a one-time process. It's something that needs to continue to evolve, and organizations need to stay up to speed with that. So as you do digital transformation, you have to couple it with cybersecurity, and you have to look at detection technologies, but also kind of protective measures to reduce the impact if an attack does occur. So how do you shut down the systems, right? And also a really important element of that is the people. What are they allowed to do, not allowed to do? And in some cases, you just kind of have to prevent them from doing certain things. A few years ago, Honeywell implemented that you cannot use USB sticks into your computers, right? Because that's a big threat. So something as simple as that can prevent cyber attacks. And even today, we're doing some measures, and we're advising customers on how to monitor for attacks and to use things like ChatGPT or not for an enterprise. So there's a lot that's happening, and I think it's important for organizations to think about digital transformation and cyber, look at it from an IT to OT perspective as well, not just focus on the IT.
Just to continue on that, I think there is something that's very interesting, and it's the same as if you have a row of ants walking in a straight line. If you put something in their way, right, it doesn't take much time for them to figure out an alternative path. And I think with humans in general, you block USB ports. I think, going back 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that was an automatic default, right? That was an easy fix, right? But today, what we're finding is that people are evolving, right, and are being able to be a lot more reactive, right? So people are going around that and finding different ways. And it goes back to ChatGPT. Everyone thought it was a cool prompt engine, and then didn't realize that you could upload, millions of lines of financial data and get a quick summary back, thinking it's a quick fix. So I think it is kind of very, very interesting in that fact.
It's great to use ChatGPT or any other AI engine to obviously reduce repetitive tasks, but at what cost, as you said earlier?
I think the products that Microsoft are coming out with are going to change that, right? And I think we're super excited about
Copilot.
Copilot and the evolution of Copilot. And I think it'd be something that we definitely want to dig into more from an enterprise perspective.
Yeah, I mean, look, here's the thing. I mean, GPT engine as an engine, great thing. ChatGPT, awesome thing. My kids love it. They do all their homework with it. Right?
Me too.
Now the school is now implementing a tool to detect if they're using GPT to detect, and that's another GPT, but that's another different problem. So my kids now do it double. They put it in GPT, take it and put it in Gemini and Google, and then reverse back again so that the teacher doesn't detect that they use AI. So, but from an enterprise perspective, if I just ask you here in the audience, how many of you has used GPT? Pretty much everyone used ChatGPT, right? Perfect. How many of you, and I'm hoping not, but has put any kind of corporate data into ChatGPT? Summarize a text, Excel, whatever it is.
I don't think you'll get any response.
All right, we're not getting responses. Let's assume no
lie.
one did it, but assuming someone did it in the past, you helped train an open model, an open AI model that sits in the internet, that basically everyone or the open AI as a company has access to, and you're training a model, a publicly available model. Now, when it comes to Copilot on the Microsoft side, we early enough detected and we knew that we cannot go with this type of engagement with our customers. So what we decided was we need to have an enterprise grade one. And the enterprise grade one on the Microsoft side is Copilot. I'm not here to do a product pitch, but for every company that is looking into LLM models, my advice would be to look into an enterprise grade one. And when I say enterprise grade one, what I mean by that is secure, compliant, and the data of the customer remains the data of the customer at any time. And it is compliant in the way they need to have it. In terms of Microsoft, for us, it's very easy because we say this is in your tenant, in your environment. You secure it, you make sure it's compliant with the features that you need. And there's no connection between us and OpenAI. So it remains in your own tenant. And that's the engagement that we want to see from all the companies that are doing these kind of, leveraging these kind of technology to provide service to their customers. Because without that, you're risking to have those leaks of data to the public that you don't want, right? I don't want my government data or my enterprise data to be sitting in a large language model that sits on the internet that's been trained and then being used by someone else for something else, right? So I want to keep it where it is, where I trust, right? And that's the one thing that we look into. Now, that's on this one technology piece. When it comes to the security side and compliance side of it, I'll give you the example from Microsoft internally. Right now in Microsoft internally, we have, of course, Copilot embedded. Every Microsoft employee is using it. Great. Now, within the Microsoft UI, within the Copilot UI, you have at the top right corner something called work and web. So we still give the employees the chance to click on web, and they can still use the web version. Now, what we have seen is the customers are asking us is, hey, we need to have tools to detect where are our employees putting these data. So now it's about compliance. It's about how do I detect if an employee that I have in my environment has shared confidential information on non-approved tools. Have they really copy-pasted an email or a Word document or an Excel file or a PowerPoint, whatever information you want, into a non-approved tool, be it on the internet or even the internal version using the web version. So providing all that insight is going to be important. So because you're talking about, you don't want to lose your data loss prevention, detection of threats. Majority of those breaches that we talk about are not because of technology, it's because of people. All right? I used to manage the incident response teams at Microsoft. I can tell you, I know pretty much of every customer that got breached in the last 10 years in the region. None of them were because of technology. None. Majority of them are purely due to people, and some of them due to process, lack of process or implementation of process or following it diligently. So that's why it's great to have the tools, it's great to have the technology, and it's great to have all these compliance measurements and security measurements around it. But if we don't address the people part, we're going to still fail, and we're going to continue to fail. And that can only be addressed, in terms of with education, as early as I've given you example with the kids in school, and all the way to the enterprise that we work with, and in the governments, and it has to be repeated over and again. I'll share one more thing, and then I'll close on this. At Microsoft, we do a test every year, twice at least, in terms of phishing attacks within Microsoft. The most recent one was just about a week ago, 10 days ago. Microsoft sent internally an email from DocuSign, which we use to sign documents internally at Microsoft. It really was a really legit email that came through to all Microsoft employees. What do you think was the percentage of people that clicked on that link without reporting that it was a phishing email? 10%, 20%, 30%?
50.
You're looking into the 30 to 40% mark.
Yeah.
And we're talking about employees of companies that are very savvy in this, that are really, that know about this, they get trained on this. It can still happen. That's why I'm saying people are the weakest links in this. And that's why we have to constantly continue this education, constantly deliver those sessions to re-emphasize over and over again so that we minimize the impact, and then implement the technology around it so that the growth, the impact across the organization doesn't really, bring a business down or doesn't, cripple the whole operation of a business. So that's why it becomes extremely important to, have those educational sessions, awareness sessions internally, from all the way from the small age all the way to the enterprise grade employees that we all are.
Yeah, thanks, Aidan. And to add on that, I think we one of the studies that we're doing every year, it actually trying to target or trying to capture, what is the first or the biggest entry point for any attack in a company, and that's still unfortunately email, right? So that click that we do accounts for about 80% of the entry point in any company that we see today, right? So it's pretty scary. It's pretty simple to not click, but as Aidan was saying, the emails that you get these days are so legitimate because, as we talked about earlier, right? AI for everything. You put a text in AI, there's no more grammatical errors, or you wouldn't know that this person is not a native English speaker that sent it out, right? So it's really interesting.
Just one thing, one example I want to give you. All these phishing emails that we all get, have you realized that over the last 1 year, how good they got in any language? I speak few languages. They got super good in Turkish. And they're like very grammatically correct, and they're really good. And the images are perfect now because the other attackers are equally using GPT, right? So they're talking about dark GPT now. They're using the same technology that is available to you, where we're trying to protect ourselves from, and they're using the same thing to attack you. So that's why it's so scary right now. And that's why we need the security, compliance measurements, the regulation around it to make sure that we actually jointly protect ourselves. Yeah. Sorry, didn't want to interrupt.
No.
Apologies.
Just something which happened recently came into mind while Aidan was talking about phishing training and doing campaigns. We do for all our group of companies, and we have been doing it for a few years, and we have come to a level all the phishing campaigns it will be lesser than 5%. That it's more than the industry standard and the regional standard for that. And while we were conducting this, and I was quite happy about it, and when February came, we thought, okay, this February, every month we conduct a campaign, so let it be something to do with the Valentine's Day. So we conduct a Valentine's Day campaign, and it went from specifically from MENA regions of our offices, from 5% to 18%. So the next month, I've been sitting with our the management executive board, and I was representing them, and they were how come this already went? And I looked at it, and I was I really didn't have an answer. I was probably the MENA regions are more romantic. So, but apart from that, so that what I'm trying to say is it's never that when we reach a point that we be okay about it, we say that okay, I have reached the threshold and I'm happy, I'm safe, no, that. And these are along with the rise of AI, the attackers are finding different ways to lure the people who are well trained as well. So if you compare so the global technology spend is 5 trillion, of which 285 billion is being spent on cybersecurity and investment. And if you take MENA region, it is predicted by Gartner for this year it's going to be 183 billion, of which 3.3 billion would be spent on cybersecurity. So compared to the world spend, it's 14% year-to-year increase. and MENA region it is 12%. So that we are on par with rest of the world. That is a very good sign. But at the same time, we have to think spend doesn't mean that we are protected. So that because you have to make the spend on the right places, you have to make sure that along with the technology, the expertise are onboarded as well. So since we we are talking about ChatGPT and everything, we have to utilize AI to combat AI because it's becoming it's a completely difficult task to have a SOC center with thousands of agents, even to look at a single entities logs and metrics they are generating. So that we have to utilize AI, and I'm happy to see that more and more organizations are starting to understand the value. Probably because of the region is being actively targeted for ransomware attacks as well. Sure. So that they are getting more educated on that, including the executives, and the investment is being done. So what I would say is there is two types of action. One is reactive and one is proactive. So that I still see in the region reactive investments are in considerable amount, but we have to adapt to a mentality and culture that we make it the investment more proactive as well. So that would lead the pathway to a safer environment.
Definitely agree.
I think closing on that too, I think we've talked a lot about what we see. And I think the other thing to remember, and I think everyone needs to be reminded about it, is what AI is being used for is what we don't see, right? It's behind the scenes. It's development of code, development of more sophisticated attacks, right? And it's not always human facing. And that's where it comes in a conflict with us. And that's part of our big job, is making sure that the platforms that are deployed, right, and communication between platforms is secure and remains secure.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, so before, I think we have probably 5-6 minutes left for this. Any questions from the audience? Anything that you guys want to ask the panel? I mean, obviously, any question is good. I know this is sometimes a scary topic and there's lots of lack of knowledge, but don't be scared. Ask anything that you're interested in. Go ahead, please. Sure.
So I'm not sure. Can you hear me? Good.
Can we have a mic, please? Yes.
There is a mic. Okay.
There's a mic.
It's not on.
Yeah. So it's working. So I want to thank you so much for a very interesting discussion.
Now it works.
Now, right? Yes. Yeah. Okay, so thanks so much for this very interesting discussion. My question is to Aiden.
Yes.
I agree with you that cybersecurity and ensuring the compliance of the AI models will continue to be a people focused and centric topic. However, it's also the technology tool. Your kids are using both GPT and Gemini to drive the homework that they should do themselves.
The two that I'm aware of.
Exactly. So the point is, if you give the tool to the people, they will naturally react to it by using it and utilizing it, maybe in the wrong direction. So, and this, my question is mainly around this point. When you ended your talk, you said that's why we need to have the compliance system. We need to have to ensure that everyone is using it in the right way, and the government policies around it.
Correct.
What are the main one or two government policies that Microsoft or you are thinking are needed to drive the compliance on AI structure?
So, number one, ethical and responsible AI is something that we've been a big advocate of as Microsoft. I mean, our president, Brad Smith, has been talking about in every interaction, even in the recent announcement with our partnership here in the UAE, was one of the main topics around was the ethical and ethical AI development and compliantly. Now, when it comes to AI, it's like Pandora's box. And I come from a networking background. I'm from engineering background, cybersecurity. When my first interactions with AI were more on the analytics side, because I wanted to leverage AI technology to analyze data signals. Right now, Microsoft says we're analyzing 70 trillion signals per day. You cannot do it with normal, desktop machine anymore. You have to have AI engine that can analyze this data and understand something meaningful out of it. Now, when it comes to the compliance side of it, I think ethical development and leveraging the AI technology for the good of humanity are good, starting points. But in terms of regulation, I don't think we have worldwide something that's right now accepted everywhere equally, right? It's like, I feel like we're almost like in the early years of GDPR when it was released, and then no one knew how to deal with it. And for AI, it's still like in very early baby steps where we're still trying to figure out how do we regulate this. Now, at Microsoft, we've decided that in terms of GPT and how we leverage GPT to implement technology and products, and again, I'm not going to talk about the products here, but to give the customers the confidence that they are able to understand and monitor the activities of the users and making sure that they're doing it compliantly, and compliantly based on their policies. They can block and unblock access to, Gemini or any other product that they don't want their employees to use. So that we provide that environment. We also provide the monitor and tracking as well at the same time. So if I take from a confidential Excel file a snippet and then paste it in even within Microsoft Tools Copilot, and I selected the web version, it will say, hey, you're not allowed to do so. Or if I do it, then it will flag it to the IT saying, hey, this guy, Aiden, has done something he should not be doing. And then it gets flagged to to my manager or to someone else, right? So we provide that kind of visibility. And then from a high-level business perspective, you get statistics and reports around, hey, your organization is compliant up to 20%, 30% of based on your compliance rules that you have set for your organization. I still believe we're still in those baby steps. There will be a lot of changes coming down the road in the next 6 to 12 months that will change the way we're looking into this, and it has to, because every day there's something new. The example of the CEO of deepfake, I've seen an example of me speaking on stage on an event, which I was not even there, right? That's why I tell my wife, if you see a video of me or a picture, it's not me, right? Just make sure, in case something goes wrong. So, but really, it's all about, making sure that we use the technology for us, for the good, and then making sure that we are also, providing visibility and transparency to customers. At the end of the day, it's always going to be a shared responsibility model between us as the providers of technology and the customer that are using it. It's not going to be only one side, one person or one entity that's going to be responsible for everything. It's going to be a shared responsibility model across the board.
Yeah. Any other questions before we sum it up? I think we're running. Yes, sir. One more.
I have a question about OT technology. How will AI help in securing OT environments where we have vulnerabilities for our refineries, our sewage treatment plants? So we mostly spoke about AI where people lapse, but for our OT environments, how can AI help us there?
Okay.
I can answer that. Yeah. So I think it's not too different from what we're talking in an IT environment. So when it comes to monitoring, I think we need to rely on AI to filter some of the regular threats, right? And we need to reserve the people to monitor the more sophisticated threats that will happen, right? And of course, we need to upskill. But I think when you do OT cybersecurity, the challenge is you're actually trying to connect systems from multiple vendors in a lot of cases. So how do you do that effectively, right? And you do need to have protective measures, right? As in trying to look at how can you prevent attacks from happening, and you need to have robust controls in place on the system itself. And that's where companies like Honeywell or others that provide solutions that can do that. And essentially, you really need someone that's vendor agnostic, that's able to connect all the OT systems and OT infrastructure to protect you, coupled with a monitoring service, right? I think it's regular to do that, and that's I think as a closing comment, perhaps to say, don't wait for an attack to happen on your company for you to implement cybersecurity measures, right? Whether that's IT or OT. You really need to look at it end to end, and it's not good to get insurance after an event happens, right? So get it done now and make sure that you are doing something that is continuous and a program that is not a one-time instance.
Cool. Thanks, Gia. So let's close it up. I think we're running out of time. Maybe short closing comments from Phil, Aiden, Zamfir that you would like to say.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, looking at it from an agnostic approach is probably key. I think we have to be very vigilant within our enterprise and within our home. I think it's not only affecting us at the workplace, it's affecting us within our personal lives as well. and it's getting more sophisticated. I think the last time I was with the Consul General at GITEX last year, we talked about this, and it's gotten so much more sophisticated, and it's becoming very fast and very strong and powerful every day. And it's no longer a simple threat. And I think it's going to grow and grow. And I'm happy that we are developing tools to try to mitigate and tame it. But we have to do a lot of upskilling at the same time.
Thanks.
I'll make it very short. While the future of cybersecurity is in the cloud, it will still be a people and process thing. Let's please keep an eye on that. And continue those awareness and educational sessions continuously. That's going to be my last thing on this.
No, I would say that invest in people, the right set of talent to manage your infrastructure and your portfolio of services, and awareness and training. It is very important, and it is always underplayed. So that please emphasize on that.
Thank you all. We appreciate you being on the panel. I think it was a great discussion. Hope it was useful for you guys. We're going to be around. Please connect with us. Ask any questions that you have. And yeah, looking forward to having some more discussions of this.
Thank you. Thank you so much. A big round of applause for them. Special thanks to Mr. Zanfer Aad, Innovo, Gia El-Haj, Honeywell, Phil Malo, AVISPL, Aiden Alsner, Microsoft, and to our great moderator, Lipsko.
Thank you.
Josefsky. Stand up for a picture together. A big round of applause for them. Please take time to connect with each and every one of them. Google them on LinkedIn, and make time to ask any further questions. Thanks to our industry partner, Cisco, for this great session. Thank you.